Good day, Amanda. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. Good afternoon, Antonio. And yourself?
I am great. Can't wait for our discussion, on interviews because I know this will resonate with a lot of individuals because, 2020 and 2021 is some challenging years. It's not
Yes,
that difficult, but it's just a challenge to, reach the goal that we will want to reach.
correct. I
So
think
basically,
now more than ever, as you said that about challenge, now more than ever, we need to be able to equip our job seekers with all the tools and the techniques they need to better market themselves. So
correct.
this is one, and it's going to be one of many masterclass series designed to assist in this regard.
Yeah. And you take it off in the sense, what would you tell the audience in terms of interviews and the interview tips and how to land this dream job that everyone wants to have in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said dream job, right? Because that's the aim as well.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
so let me start with a little background on what this is going to be about. Before COVID-19, um, I had workshops, mock interview workshops, where I would invite human resource professionals, managers, to come in and interview job seekers. They get the practice and they get assessed on their performance. I was trying for the entire 2020, trying to figure out how I could move such an event online.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just working out the kinks and whatnot. But for this year, I decided I will do it as a workshop or webinar rather style and teach the fundamentals. And maybe part two could be a little more practical where we have rooms, interview rooms, and assign them to an HR professional for them to be assessed. So basically, the purpose or the vision rather behind this masterclass is to help persons understand how to prepare for job interviews and also how to carry about themselves in the interview, how to respond to questions. We have the non-verbal, so the dress code, keeping eye contact with the camera, which is a major thing now because all the interviews are done. Well, many interviews are done online,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a challenge to keep looking at your phone or computer camera instead of looking at the person. So, all these
Correct.
things we are facing, all these changes, and I really want to be able to help job seekers to better equip themselves. Of course, with the assistance of my HR colleagues who have agreed, thankfully, to
Mm-hmm.
facilitate this masterclass with me.
And going online, would you say it was a task for you, to, dwell online compared to the face to face? I know we in Trinidad, the Caribbean region, we actually getting back, the face to face interaction because of our COVID 19 pandemic. It's not as many cases as from before. So,
Mm-hmm.
we are limited still in terms of the capacity of people we have in a room at once, but
Yeah,
we still have that advantage over other countries with the interaction of persons. So
that's
would
right.
you say it was challenging, going into um that like social space, that online space, I should say?
Virtual, online,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, because I prefer face-to-face interaction, hands down. I prefer having workshops where you could walk through and feel the energy. It's a
Hmm.
totally different experience. But virtual, I had to do a lot of adjustments, which I did in 2020 when I had a couple of free webinar series, and it really helped me to get comfortable with the online space, um, and to get more ideas on what I could actually move, what type of workshops and classes I could actually move to this online space and still maintain or try to maintain the same experience, the same
Yeah.
participant experience. Yeah.
So, like, I want to get into the HR aspect, in the sense of that, let's say tomorrow I have an interview, I'm nervous, because this company, I wanted to work for this company from ever since. This was my dream company. And,
Mm-hmm.
how should I go about preparing for this interview? Because sometimes, you get opportunity to go for an interview, but it's not the company that you'd like to work for. So everything will
Yes.
flow in the interview, itself. But this is my dream company. I'm so nervous. So how would you say that I should overcome this fear and prepare for this dream interview that I have?
Well, because it's your dream company, the preparation wouldn't be from the day before and you're nervous. It actually would have been, or should have started way before. What
Hmm.
I tell my clients first is to target the company you want to work for. So the fact that you have a dream company means you already have a target, which is
Correct.
excellent.
Yeah.
You would have been doing some measure of research on that company. So, you know their clients and their customers, products, services, you know their competitors, you know other things like if there are training opportunities, what room is there for growth, etc. And that is the reason why you could say, I really want to work for this company. This is my dream company. So once you have that research down, that's one side. The other side, you are supposed to almost be reassured in yourself that once the opportunity arises, I am going to make it known that I am the best candidate for this job. Because not only that I know everything about this company and about the role that I want to play, I know
Yeah.
myself, I know my strengths, and I know what I will be hired really to do. So you have an
Hmm.
idea of the job title, the department you want to work for, and all of these things. So I always say, yes, you research the company, but you also have a good idea of yourself and your skills. And marrying the two, you are, yes, the nerves will come. Don't get me wrong, Antonio.
Yeah.
Nerves, we all the best public speaker.
It's,
Everybody gets nervous,
it's
right?
true. Yeah.
It's really how you channel this because this is your dream company. You know you want to work for this company. You just channel that nerves to give you the energy to best represent yourself. And guess what? Even if you do not get called for the job, you understand, okay, you give it your best shot, and now you pull back and assess, do you try again or do
Mhm.
you go to your next target's company?
And I would say right now we are in an employer's market where we have to, you know, um, we have to assess what is happening
Mm-hmm.
globally and take that in consideration. Though we might go to interview and we might feel that we did our best and we actually think that I should be the potential candidate for the job, but it did
Mm-hmm.
not occur that way. We have to understand that employers seek different things. Sometimes
Yeah.
you and the closest candidate could be on par in terms of the knowledge of the company, the history, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of your mannerism, because that have a lot to play when you're in an interview, because based on your body mannerism, the interviewer will know that if you are nervous or not, or if you are confident in what it is you're expressing to them. So
Yeah.
we have to know that sometimes an interviewer will base the how to put it, like they will actually know to themselves what it is that they're looking for. So sometimes
Right.
the interviewer will be looking for, like, all right, somebody who they're more familiar with, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you want to know to yourself you're picking this candidate that somebody recommend you. So
Yes. Yes.
in that way now, you don't want any confusion going forward in terms of the job, because sometimes you pick someone you don't know and then there's some kind of confusion. So some a manager or somebody within the company recommend you for the job,
Yeah.
sometimes the employers feels more comfortable in that way.
You made a very good point, and that is what we would call when you really tap into the hidden job market.
Hmm.
You are referred for jobs by persons who are already working there, and
Yeah.
you get opportunities to be interviewed based on a referral. So nothing really on your resume, but just
Yeah.
based on your referral. And the employer is going in good faith in the person who recommended you, of course, that you are who that person says you are. Now, yes, it's an employer's market, so to speak, but it can be a job seeker's market. And it
Yeah.
literally depends on the job seeker to empower themselves and to understand the value that they bring. We have so many underemployed persons, right, walking around unemployed, but far more underemployed persons. And I say it really boils down again to understanding their worth and value. And I'm not only talking about salary, I'm just talking about understanding where you would be the best fit. So it's not just about you desperately wanting this job, but more so as if this job is the right job for you, for your
Yes.
skill set, for
Mhm.
your values, And this is, I always say this, it can be a job seekers market. It should be a job seekers
It
market. We
should be,
have
yeah.
way more job
Mhm.
seekers than
Correct.
employers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And in terms of like type of interviews, what you say is like the type of interviews that have in the
Mhm.
market.
Many types you will get, especially now where we know video virtual interviews, right? Even if it's in person, you have to maintain the distance, but panel interviews where you will have 3 to 5 persons on a panel
Hmm.
and you are the interviewer coming in. So that's one type of interview. You'll have the traditional one on one. So perhaps it's just an HR professional or the manager. But let's say in more of the smaller companies, the manager will interview you. You have that one on one. You have group interviews, which is rare. Group in
Yeah.
the sense that job seekers are taken probably in threes, and you have possibly one interviewer or more than one interviewer. So a group of job seekers and a group of interviewers. Again, I say it's rare, but it can be done based on the industry and the type of job and the role that it requires. Then you would have the specifics in terms of the type of interview, behavioral interviews, situational interviews. We have interviews that are more assessment based. So you would
Hmm.
come in and instead of asking questions like, what are your strengths and weaknesses, they actually give you an exam, right? And they ought to, as an HR, when you're called for the interview, they ought to inform you beforehand that it is an assessment you are coming to do. So you have to now prepare. So, for example, I'll give you an example. An interview I went to some years ago in the communication field, it was an assessment based interview. So I was required to write a press release and a
Hmm.
communication plan in an hour and a half, I believe. Right? So this is what I'm talking about. Assessment based, it happens, but they ought to tell you beforehand that is an assessment and not a traditional interview. And these are just some of the interview types that you can encounter. Telephone interview is another one, right?
Hmm.
They assess you from beforehand, before they even call you to meet you. They
Yeah.
just get an idea how you sound on the telephone, your responses to question. Yes. So there are many.
I got a WhatsApp interview a time, a WhatsApp video call,
Really? Video call,
and with
right.
two companies, matter
Mm-hmm.
of fact, and I was like, okay, WhatsApp video call when I have Zoom. So
Ooh, interesting.
Amanda,
Yes.
this told me a lot about the company. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think I would want to work for a company who actually seeking out potential candidates for their job on
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp video call. And to me, that was very unprofessional. And I was like, that's a no-no. Any
Was
company
it a
doing
small
that?
company?
Um, Yeah, I wouldn't say so because they do did
Mm-hmm.
business in the regionally. They have
Okay. Okay.
a space in the Caribbean, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
also they do export to
Okay.
internationally. So I wouldn't say it's a small company. And the
Mm-hmm.
other company, that is not a small company for sure, because that company I started for a while. But sometimes, you know what I would say is the position that
Mm-hmm.
you've been called for, they consider that they should put it as a WhatsApp video. But if it was, let me say, a manager's position or something like that, they
Yeah.
tend to treat it differently when it is all individuals supposed to be treated equally. So it
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
some HR professionals out there working for big conglomerate companies have to
Yeah.
really assess themselves, because I sure they are taught the fundamentals of HR, but they choose to implement their own strategy going forward. But they have
Yeah.
to understand that they are representing, these big companies.
The
And if it is
companies.
now, I was to go and relay this information to someone within the organization, because you can never tell who, I know, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this was to get back out, or even was to even, let me say, tape the conversation now, and show that that will look so negatively on their behalf, and they could even get
Yeah.
some kind of form of disciplinary action for that. So HR professionals, it have the great ones out there, not saying
Mm-hmm.
it don't have, but it have some that need some serious individual attention.
So
you know
they need to humanize themselves some more.
Yes, yes, and I have to put all this because the company,
Mm-hmm.
they called me. It was two individuals, two HR personnel, and
Right.
they were telling me if it is, I don't mind, going to different hardwares. The
Right.
hardwares where the Indians sell these different hardware supplies and these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell myself no. I am not racist at all. So I tell
Yeah.
myself, no, if I'm coming to your organization to do sales, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to tell me who own the hardwares.
Uh,
I am
yes, yes.
coming just to do a job, do it to the best of my ability, and that is about
Mm-hmm.
it. So that was very unprofessional. I'm not being biased. I'm just saying based on experience in the past, because I know it have some individuals who have bad experiences with companies, but they never come out
That's
and
right.
say. But we have an
Yes, yeah.
open discussion here today, and these are the things happening, not with every company, because I have some very professional companies out there. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I have some other companies that you would expect to be big companies, and they are doing nonsense. So that was my experience in the past, and I was like, whoa, I was so, cool and calm. And that's afterwards, I just be like, for real? You didn't have to go there, because it's just a
Yeah.
job I'm coming for, and I'm trying to do the best, in the job. If it is, I was successful. But with the WhatsApp video call and everything, and then, to hear that, that is a
Mm-hmm.
whole turn off, because, I have friends from all races. I sure you have also. So we are
Yeah,
about
yeah.
being professional, and I'm being about career oriented. So that was a terrible experience, but it's just a learning lesson for the future.
I think you said something is pretty interesting. I'm glad that you had that sense of discernment
Yeah,
to
thanks.
pick up that you're not getting a good vibe, let's say vibe,
Hmm.
from this company. So from a WhatsApp interview and then the way they speak and communicate to you about the position, all of these things I tell my clients too, you have to look at the warning signs. Every
Correct.
time you go to an interview and once you take the time to empower yourself, you're supposed to realize that this is a conversation at the end of the day. So
Yes.
even if you present your best self and you know you have it down pack, if they offer you the job, you would have been getting signals too. It's two-way
Hmm.
communication. And you are
Hmm.
in a position now to say, okay, no, thank you. Based on what I learn and understand on the position,
Hmm.
it's probably not the best opportunity for me. So it is a two-way communication and it is not, I really have to say this. I wish that a lot of job seekers will understand an interview really ought not to be an interrogation or a
Correct.
platform to just
Hmm.
make you feel
Yes.
small, you're being
Yes.
reduced by HR professionals. It's not that at all. admittedly, when I was much younger, I felt like that because
Hmm.
you're trying to build your experience and you're not sure where to look on your interview. You really don't know yourself.
Yeah.
This is why I realized the key is knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, just being confident in your abilities. If there's a match on both sides, like you both desire to go into this work relationship, fine.
Hmm.
If not, you just walk away, and that's just the nature of the game, so to speak.
And I would like to share this, real life scenario, with me in the past where I went for interview with a company. It was a sales position, and
Yeah.
one of the questions, the interviewer asked me was that, what kind of car that do I drive? I was like, once you ask me if it is I have a working reliable vehicle, and I
Yes.
answer yes, that is fine. But when
Yeah.
you ask me what kind of vehicle I
The
drive, I
brand.
find out you trying to get into my business. And that is something I know as the candidate, yes, it's an employer's market, but I have to let you know now that, hold up, I have a working reliable vehicle. And if it is I'm successful at the end of this interview
Mm-hmm.
process, I do not mind working and using my vehicle for the job. Simple as that. You don't have to go into that because to me that is none of your concern. And I say that out of respect, and that's that. So they can't hold me for that and say that I was disrespectful in the interview. Sometimes
Of
we
course.
have to speak up and tell the interviewer, if it is we find a common outer line,
Mm-hmm.
pardon, but I would like for you to maybe rephrase your question or don't
Yes.
get too involved into my personal life.
And you are in your right to do so. And I'm
Yes.
glad you did. Job seekers need to, realize they are in their rights to answer certain questions and prefer, or, just say
Hmm.
prefer not to answer it at this time. People, it really, again, knowing your rights, understanding that human resource professionals are human too. We all have biases, and you just do not want to put yourself or open up yourself to be discriminated against in
Yeah.
whatever capacity. You know, in your case, it's possible that it was in terms of finances, your socioeconomic status, right?
Hmm.
Trying to decipher what type of car you drive and all of these things. So maybe what salary you would accept, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but you have a right to refuse and respectfully
Amanda,
do so.
I don't like when it is an employer asking you what salary you would like. I find that is a trick
Mm.
question. Don't ask me that. Because next thing now, I saying, okay, because I have some jobs that pay so well, for
Yeah.
small positions, and you will never know. So let's say you go to a company and you say, well, all right, well, I know I really hear about your company so much, so I will accept
Yeah.
7,000. Not knowing the company want to pay 10,000 for the job, but seeing that you
Mm.
say seven and they want you, they will be like, okay, we saving 3,000 each month,
Yeah.
3 by 12, like 36,000 for the year. We taking him one time, you know? So to me, I find employers shouldn't ask that question. Oh gosh, please, I don't like it. I don't like it, man.
It's a question that it is nothing wrong with asking that question actually. Like there's no legal implication for
Mhm.
asking a candidate about their salary expectations. However, it is up to the candidate to one do some type of preliminary research on their specific field. So if it is you're into sales, marketing, for example, and you know the industry salary, you have an idea of the industry salary, and then you have an idea on what private companies pay opposed to what public companies or in the public sector might pay, then
Yeah.
you now give yourself a range. I always say give a range, right?
Okay. Yes,
How
that
much ever
okay.
you would have worked for, yeah, in
Mhm.
the past, and based on the research that you would have done, give a range. They have a budget already. In most cases,
Yes.
companies have a budget for what they want to pay you, and they ask you that. Yes, it's a stressful question. It is, but they just want to know. They want to know your views on it if they can afford you, especially if it is they like what they hear so far and what they see, what are your salary expectations? So
And
unfortunately, you can't get rid of that question.
let's touch on interview responses.
Mm-hmm,
So like what normally the questions our interviewer should ask, a candidate, or normally I should say
mm-hmm.
ask candidates.
Well, so many questions. Again, it depends on the type of interview. So, for
Yeah.
example, if it is you're doing a behavioral type interview, they are going to ask you questions that sort of give an indication of your behavior, how you behave in the past, right? As opposed to if it's a situational type interview, it's more hypothetical questions and they want to determine how would you respond in the event that, something happened. The key though is to understand the purpose of the question. All questions, all interview questions ask about, of course, the company. So, what you know about the company, what you know about the role itself, the position,
Hmm.
and you, because they are interviewing you to assess whether you are the right fit for the job. So, a lot of questions will be based on you, conflict management, your achievements, how well you could work with teams, how
Yeah.
reliable you are. So the how the question is phrased, it would be different, but it all boils down to you and whether or not you are the best candidate. So a key to remember, once you get an interview based on the merit of your resume, right? So you submitted a resume and they pull it up and you get an interview that way. Understand that they are impressed by your resume, and
Hmm.
so you now build on what you had there. You
Yeah.
are called on this interview to, elaborate on what you had there because they're already 50% impressed. Now it's time to meet
Hmm.
you and talk to you. Yeah. But the responses that I see a lot of job seekers struggle with, tell me about yourself.
Yes. Yes. Some
The same
people do.
question. Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, I would say how I would answer, tell me about myself. I'm not
Hmm.
going to say my name. I am not going to say where I live. I'm not going to say where I work because that already is on my resume. What I will
Perfect.
say about is what I am doing presently. So I say right now,
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn Live, doing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of video content, and also I sales is my passion, so I focus on sales,
Yeah.
and right now I'm doing podcasts, and keeping myself active by being an avid reader on the sales, topics, because
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I want to make a career rather than, a job opportunity. I see that
Yes.
from now till eternity, and elaborate a little more. And that's about it. You want to make the interviewer entice us to, this guy or this young lady is being proactive, is being, responsible in terms of what they consume, because what you consume is what you will reap. As
Mm-hmm.
Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5% that you spend the most time with. So
Yeah.
when it is now they realize that, you're doing content with individuals who may be in your same arena, or,
Mm.
individuals who have expertise in different field, you are being a productive individual, and that exactly what it is that the interviewer wants to hear. So that will be my take on
Your
it.
response.
Yeah.
And that's perfect because you really want to show the tell me about yourself. They are trying to determine, again, good fit, whether you
Correct.
are a good fit. So, in addition to, from your answer, let's use that as an example. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to you being very productive and having a passion and a vision for your career path, what I would add is some elements of the job itself. So you
Right.
connect the dots right away. If it's a job in
Mm-hmm.
sales and marketing, it's okay to mention that your passion is in sales and marketing and give, one line on what it is you are doing, video
Mm-hmm.
content, and you're networking with a lot of persons globally, right? This
Yeah.
is the approach that I will tell clients to take. However, be mindful that this response ought not to be very long. I have
Yes.
seen it happen where they start to talk about themselves and answer questions that would have been coming later down.
Yeah.
You know, do you tell me about yourself? You want to warm up the candidate, so they ask you, but you also want to make sure that you respond with your passion and also
Hmm.
what they are looking for. So it's just ready to find the right mix. Ready to
And
find the
one
right
thing
mix.
I would like to say, this based on
Mhm.
what happened to me in the past, right?
Yeah.
So we know that it have um, recruitment agencies where they give you most of the best jobs that would
Hmm.
be offered on like Caribbean jobs or Trinidad jobs
Yeah.
or Job City for us in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago.
Hmm.
And I was able to attend an interview, with their client, and the client
Hmm.
was like, okay, if anything, we'll call you for a second interview. So I was given a second interview. So when I went to the interview, the client now was saying that for us, bringing you to the second interview is something that we see in you that we like. So I understand that,
Yes.
which was the HR personnel and the manager for the particular department. So they was like, okay, here what we would like for you to start at, let's say, beginning of March.
Hmm.
So we will get back, not to you, but we will get back to the agency, and the agency basically should relay the information. So when that time come now, and I reached out to the agency closer to the time. The agency was like, the client, they will speak to the client. So then when I spoke to the client, no, the client was like, no, they did not said that. So basically, now you see what went on there, which was
Hmm.
very bad. So it's just to show you now that I, being the candidate, in the future, will never go and send out a resume to that company, or even recommend someone to that company. So they
Yeah.
basically get a big X out of my bucket list there already. So
And
sometimes,
understandably.
yes, so sometimes companies have to be transparent, and really and truly, Amanda, they was not supposed to tell me, right, that they will want me at this
For a
time.
second
They were
interview.
supposed to
Yeah.
relay
Yeah.
the information to the recruitment agency and then pass on to me, because it's a certain protocol that you're
Right.
supposed to follow. So it come like now, they breached the protocol and told me that March time you will start, and then after they never told the agency that. So when the agency reached out to them now, you see the
Hmm.
conflict of interest there. So they now have, in other words, have to say, well, I never said that, because it looking like if it is you're trying to take the employee without paying the
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah.
So that was something I had to share, because it was like, whoa, that's so unbelievable.
But Antonio, you have a lot of experiences too in this interviewing.
Yes, it's true.
I
I would not lie.
I am I'm actually well
Definitely.
I'm flagging you because I'm thinking about doing a series where candidates come and talk about their experiences just for to share and everybody to improve
That is
themselves,
good.
HR
That is good.
professionals. We
And
all have to be better.
yes, and to me, why it is I share on my experience, because everyone want to know what happened. Once it's a true experience, they
Yeah.
more listen and more buy into it, because they'll be like, "Hey, that really happened," or somebody could even say, "Well, yeah, that happened to me in the past." Where
Yeah.
it resonate with someone, and it's unbelievable to know that all these things is be happening and no one does
Behind
actually
the
come out
scenes.
and say
Yeah.
something. No one. So it come like, we need the voices
Mm-hmm.
for the HR world. We need the voices of the interviewers. What's the feedback in terms of going to employer? What's the feedback you get in the interview? Don't be silent. Say your bad experiences. Say your good experiences. Let us hear. Let people hear. So when they go now, they could actually learn from the mistakes what you made, or the mistakes what the company made, and they will be able to better go forward to gain this interview to make it a success.
That's right. That's right. And we could all just improve. We could be
Correct.
better. right?
Correct.
And in order to be better, we have to shed light on the issues so that we could
Mm-hmm.
come up with solutions. And interestingly though, based on what you're saying there, Antonio, now I have admittedly, again, when I was younger and
Mm-hmm.
interviewing for jobs and not having a sense of self,
Yeah.
I painted HR professionals as the bad guy because my interviews always felt like interrogation, and I always
Understand.
felt um, this sense of not being good enough, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but thankfully, you know, taking the time to do your self work, networking more, actually befriending a lot of HR professionals, I realized that again, once you know what you're about, we
Yes.
can't change anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Human have their biases, but once you know you're about, you are in control if you want to enter a relationship or anything with that person. I say relationship, of course, I'm talking about work related
Yes. Mm-hmm.
relationships. So now, yes, you would come across some, shaky HR professionals. Yes, you might have some bad experiences, but you
Mm-hmm.
take that and you learn from it, and then you,
You
you
learn
come
from
back
it.
home and you
Correct.
reflect. You say, all
Yeah.
right, this is not what I want for myself. And if this person is representing the company, well, you could only imagine what that company is about. All right, this is not what I want for myself. And that's the approach that job seekers, again, I say it's a job seekers market, you know. Job
Yeah.
seekers have to take it back. Have to
Correct.
take it back.
Mm-hmm. Have to. Because and you see this COVID pandemic right
Hmm.
now, everyone is blaming it on the COVID. It's like,
Yeah.
Amanda, you go to the hospital, the doctor do something wrong with you, God forbid, you end up passing away, blame it on the COVID. You go into a company as a sales professional, you're trying to
Hmm.
sell, it's not your fault. The product might not be the best quality product, you know.
Hmm.
All right, we no longer need the services, blame it on the COVID. You see, this
Yeah,
COVID
yeah.
pandemic is something that is so, it's so, they're using it so badly,
Yes,
because
yes.
everything is just to blame it on the COVID, and that is not nice. And we in a challenging time right now where,
Hmm.
we have to be mindful of our surroundings, in terms
Yeah.
of, who we network with, the companies that we send out our resumes with, because once I see a company advertising for the same position, let me say today they have a vacancy, and then 2 months down the road or 3 months down the road they had a vacancy for the same position. I
Hmm.
already know that the turnover is very high. So I do not
Exactly.
want to even send a resume to your
Exactly.
company. So that is a basic red flag there one time.
True.
You
True.
know?
Yeah. A
And
good indication.
yes, correct. And I know you have your webinar coming up, so you could tell us about your masterclass and the facilitators, and
Yes.
everything, we would like to hear.
No problem. So again, it's about preparation and execution of job interviews. So we'll be
Hmm.
touching on the types of interviews, the category of job interview questions, how to decode them, how to respond, the best and worst type of responses, right? And really to tailor your responses for each job interview that you have. I have invited three of my closest HR professional colleagues next week, Thursday. So that is the 4th of March.
Yeah.
Miss Corinne Copeland will be joining me, right, from 6 to 8. So that will be the first part of the masterclass. And we will be looking at, I'm just looking at my notes here too, so if you see my eyes straight, types of
Okay.
interviews, right? The purpose of interview, types of interviews, the categories of interview questions, and also preparation, interview preparation, the do's and don'ts, right? She is the sector HR manager for Ansa Makal Distribution,
Hmm.
and she and I will facilitate the first session next week, Tuesday. In April, the other two sessions will be on the 8th and the 15th of April. We will look further at the types of interview questions. So the worst ones and the best ones, responses rather, sorry, not
Yeah.
questions, responses, right? So you're hearing it from HR professionals again. On the first session on the 8th April, Miss Chantel Satam Khan, she is the HR coordinator for Answer Macau construction sector. She will be
Yeah.
joining me for that session. And the last session on the 15th, I will be joined by Dr. Hyacinth Guy, who will be teaching job seekers how to tailor their responses in the interview. So I decided to do it in three parts because it really is a lot. And we
Yes.
want to start from the preparation stage to the execution stage. Going again with a sense of empowering job seekers for them to really understand that this is not high science, for them to know that anxiety is normal, but how to channel it once you do your necessary research, what not to do. It is really going to be a beneficial masterclass series for
Yeah.
persons, especially those who find that they get a lot of interviews, but that's it, they never really land the job. So it means that somewhere
Mhm.
in that space, something has to change. Really is going to be beneficial for them.
Well, one thing I would like to say, um, you may be getting a lot of interviews, but not
Mm-hmm.
landing the job. Right now, I honestly believe that, employers will hire, not saying
Mm-hmm.
that they wouldn't hire some individuals who, they realize could be an asset to the organization. But
Yes. Yeah.
employers now, seeing that, we have this global pandemic, will hire individuals who they know or who will, like a manager or somebody within the organization might recommend. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the market right now, because it's like, all right, being honest, you might have a friend from long time ago, is a HR professional, a sales manager, I might have to do a favor for you. So you will go
Mm-hmm.
with the individual because you know the individual. So it have that in it, but at the same
Yes.
time, we have to block that out of our minds and go
Mm-hmm.
forth and give our best and hope and pray that we be successful in the interview.
I'm glad I'm glad that you're being real, Antonio, because there is that, right?
Yeah.
There is, referrals and internal hiring and whatnot, but what there is also is possibilities for external strangers, so to speak, job
Hmm.
candidates coming in and landing the job. However,
Yes. Hmm.
I do encourage my clients, and anyone, any platform I get to speak, tap into the hidden job market. Simply means start a network, and you're not networking
Yes.
selfishly, but build relationships. Let your
Correct.
personal brand be known so that
Known. Correct.
your work itself can speak even
Hmm.
before you are, considered or referred, right?
Yes.
You literally can't just say you finished school or you've been working at this place and you'll just go to interviews. You have to be able to
No.
work
Yeah.
and navigate. If you really want to obtain the market and claim it as a job seekers market, these are some of the things that you ought to do.
Correct.
Network.
I agree with you on that. And right now, running across the screen, we have mastering job interviews in 2021 is our topic today. Contact Amanda at 745-2986 for tickets for a masterclass, a three-stage process where she delves from the beginning to the end to make sure for you to land that job that you would love to have in 2021, that dream job. And Amanda, I would like to say, that it was great having the discussion with you,
Always.
giving the audience a tease because the real information will be in the masterclass, that stage series, and
Mm-hmm.
hope that we could maybe do something like this again because it have a lot of job seekers all over the world, and I know
Yeah.
that individuals will want to hear information like this because they want that motivation, they want that knowledge, to apply it when it is that they go forth in the interview.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And we could do another one.
For
Um,
sure. Yes.
It doesn't have to be job interview related, but
Hmm.
more so what I always seek to do again is empower job seekers
Yes.
because I know how I felt as a
Hmm.
younger job seeker and I needed that. That was the key. I needed that sense of purpose, drive, passion, and also knowing that where my strengths lie and where I would want to direct my strengths. So we could do another live. I'm really excited about that idea actually. Just to share
Yes.
for job seekers in that regard.
And what I would like to say in closing, Amanda, it's so intriguing to know that a lot of individuals, first to begin, they don't know how to write a resume. All right, okay. It have services for that. That is
Yeah,
one of your services that you provide. So you can reach out to Amanda in terms of, resume writing professionally,
correct.
right? Also, a lot of job seekers do not know the necessary platforms to actually go and apply for jobs. They feel that it only have Caribbean jobs. When it have
Yeah.
Caribbean jobs, it have Lincoln jobs, it have in Trinidad jobs, it have jobs TT, it have the
Mm-hmm.
agencies that you can go,
Exactly.
to apply for and they look for jobs for you. Some of them are Joan Muti and Associates, expert
Mm-hmm.
recruitments, Regency recruitment, and also Eve Anderson. And maybe it might have
Yeah.
more, but that is the four that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
job seekers, you have to know that when you're applying for jobs, it's not just Caribbean jobs. It have many other platforms. You should be searching daily because sometimes a job could be posted within 1 hour and then after it expired because the amount of applicants that they get, they don't
Applicants.
reach, in terms of the numbers, and they don't need to get any more people to apply for it. So they close it off and
Mm-hmm.
just assess the resumes
Those
and
that they have.
see, yes, who it is that they want to put for the client for that interview itself. So job seekers have to understand all these things, and it's really a whole different. It's like it's really a study, when you're trying to seek a job. It's really a whole study. Don't feel it's just sending a resume and that is it is more than
Correct.
that. More than that,
I
my friend.
love
And
how you put it. I love how you put it. Yeah.
thanks, you know. And one thing I would say also too, I find in Trinidad, to be honest, after your physical documented resume, your digital
Mm-hmm.
resume is linking. And I find a lot of HR professionals don't watch to see, your digital resume. But
Mm-hmm.
internationally, LinkedIn is
They
very big
do.
where,
Yes.
the HR professionals make sure and check your content, what it is you're doing on LinkedIn because you're
Mm-hmm.
getting more information and getting to learn about the individual more than on a resume
Exactly.
because you're getting to see the individual and seeing someone is getting to understand this person beforehand, being able to interview this person. So I find HR professionals, when it is you see a person resume, type in on LinkedIn the person name so that you can get a feel of the person before you meet this person.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the person doing so well on the LinkedIn platform and the resume might be plain, but it's all about activity because when they come to your organization, you want them to perform. So you get in a hand,
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah. I endorse that. Have a LinkedIn presence, and
Yeah,
for
for sure.
job seekers, have a LinkedIn presence for sure. And for HR professionals, managers, please look at their
Yes, please look. Please look.
activity. Please look at it.
Activity. You want to see that because when you see in a resume, you might see masters, you might see, professional certificates, but when you watch the activity, it's
Yeah,
poor. So that
yeah,
making me look like when you come to my company, what will you do? What you
yeah.
do you have to offer? What's it in for me? But you might see someone who maybe does have the research certificates, but the
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is boss and they have the necessary content, you're seeing the passion, the hunger for success, you know.
Exactly.
So, and that what it is you want. If I was an HR professional, I know exactly who I want to hire in my organization. And I take 2 and 3 months to hire one individual. Once I see the
Yeah.
hunger for success
Give
within
them
my
the chance.
organization,
Mm-hmm.
I want you. I want you. Simple. It not no, add maths or anything like that. It's
So true. So true. You have to know what you want. You have on both
correct.
ends.
And
Definitely
both
have to
ends.
know what you want and act on it. Yeah.
So it was nice, Amanda. I know we reached the 50th minute mark and again, and I hope that you have a blessed rest of the ahead of you.
You So thanks for having me on, Antonio. It was a pleasure as always. And we
Same
will
here.
talk again soon.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
All right.